All right, thank you for joining us for the Village of East Aurora Village Board meeting for November 1st, 2021. If you could join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Maureen, please start with a roll call attendance.
Lazikis. Trustee Rosati.
Here.
Trustee Kimmelhart. Trustee Cameron.
Here.
Trustee Porter. Trustee Shear.
Here.
Mayor Mercurio.
Present.
5 present, 2 absent.
Thank you. And I get a motion to approve the minutes of the village board meeting for October 18th, 2021.
So moved.
Moved by Kristen, second by Tony. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Can I get a motion to approve the payment of abstract for 11/1/2021 for voucher numbers 61523 to 61561 for a total of $101,643.43. Moved by Paul, second by Tony. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. All right, this is our first speakers in communications, at which point you raise your hand when called on. You come up to the mic. Please state your name and address for the record and tell us what your concerns are. We're going to start actually with Mr. and Mrs. Is it Geese from 831 East Fillmore, who have a request regarding a village tree removal. If you guys want to come up and.
Hi, thanks for hearing us. My name is Ralph. This is my wife, Mary Gacy. We live at 831 East Fillmore.
Good evening, everybody.
And we're here to request a variance on the removal of a village tree. It's on the right of way between the sidewalk and the street. And the reason for this is the damage the tree roots are causing to the sidewalk. You know, we're not able to easily maintain the sidewalk. It's been cracking and heaving. We've repaired it and it needs repairs again. And there's really no way we can properly repair the sidewalk with the tree without damaging the tree roots, you know, so it's kind of a catch-22. We can't fix the sidewalk with the tree there. So we're requesting a variance to have the tree removed.
You have the tree removed and then it affects, I went over there, it looks like you got one panel really seriously affected and the two next to it are also cracked and affected by it. And then the two outside of that. What was that? Oh, the two outside that seem to be,
Kind of heaving up.
yeah, moved up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. When did you repair it last time?
We repaired it last summer, fall, just before winter, so we wouldn't have any tripping hazards.
What'd you do at that time?
You want to explain?
Well,
what you
basically
did?
took, you know, a cement compound and tried to, you know, it's heaving up like 4 inches in spots. So we just made it.
That's the stuff that's on there now.
Yeah,
that I
a
saw.
little transition, so you didn't trip on it. Also, it's for the village plow and, you know, shoveling and stuff. It's much easier to maintain that way.
And you know the last time those panels were replaced entirely?
We're not entirely sure, but it's somewhere in the area of 2000, maybe a little earlier than that. They replaced the whole front of our house from side to side, and then part of the neighbors too, though. I don't know, probably at least 20, 30 blocks, you know, of cement.
The panels.
Yeah. We tried to look it up, but there aren't any, the records are so far out of date, there wasn't digital records. So Maureen was really nice. She helped us. We did have our old tax documents, which indicated, you know, levy for, you know, paying for it over 10 years. So it definitely was replaced. And, you know, when we first moved into the house. And so it's just been in the last, you know, we've kind of talked to the DPW and the tree board for the last 3 or 4 years. And we've been trimming the tree and, you know, fixing the sidewalk, and hopefully, you know, we had it trimmed last season. The DPW came over and took like a 60-foot limb down. It had fallen, a chunk had fallen and damaged our decorative detail on the fence out front. And so it concerned me that, I think I sent a picture of it. It was just a little metal bird, but it got crushed, and just the thought of things falling and people tripping. And our street is a very walkable street. So a lot of people come up to enjoy the neighborhood. So we just feel the liability is concerning us, and we would like to take responsibility, fix the sidewalk the right way. But that would mean, we're worried that we would do that and then it would just heave back up again, and we'd be doing it another 5 or 6 years from now, or however long the tree lasts.
I have a couple of questions. I stopped over there and looked at the tree today. And what type of tree is it specifically?
I believe it's a silver maple.
Okay, so, and I know silver maples can ruin sidewalks. So I am having a hard time understanding why we even allow silver maple. But I also noticed when I looked over at it that there seems to be a younger tree. Like, so if you're looking at your property, the larger tree that you're talking about is to the right. But there's a younger tree that looks like it was just planted recently to the left.
Correct.
Yes.
And so I want to know, what kind of tree is that?
That tree is our neighbor's tree, the Flynn's, and I think a tree came down when they were, someone was accessing their property, so they put up a new maple. So I think it's some type of maple.
I think it's a red maple.
Yeah. And there's also another maple they put in, which is just about, on the other side of the sidewalk. And one of the things right now, I don't know if you noticed that the tree has a fungus. So there's like a black, it's called the tar spot. And one of the things I've read is that if that continues, it doesn't kill the tree that's making the tar spot, but it does have the possibility that the fungus from that leaves could go into the other trees to the ground, and then they possibly pass on that fungus. It's a possibility. So those two trees are young trees. They're very pretty. They have pretty leaves and they're all very colorful right now. So you are right. Those are our neighbors' trees. We'd like to help them protect their trees.
Well, I'm saying, if it's a silver maple, whoever owns that property in like 50 years, are they gonna wanna take that tree down as well? Like,
Well, I'm guessing the tree is over 100 years old because our house is over 100 years old.
no, and the tree that you're talking is definitely over 100 years old. But the tree that I'm talking about, it's like next to your tree on your neighbor's property, it's probably like 10 years.
Right.
And I'm saying like in the 50.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, you're probably, I don't know how tall that will get, but you're right.
Are they then, whoever owns that property is gonna wanna take that tree down then?
No, we've never heard them mention anything like that. There's no reason to, that tree, is still growing. It's not causing any problems with sidewalks or safety or anything like that.
Okay.
And I do believe now the tree board has a lot of really nice trees to choose from that don't get as big and tall and disruptive. And ideally, we'd like to have one of those trees put in, or maybe two of those trees put in our front. And watch a young tree grow versus worrying about branches falling, people tripping. So,
Silver maples grow really fast. And they were really popular in the fifties and sixties and, housing developments, because they grow quickly. So it's probably not 100 years old, because it just
Mhm.
grows really quickly, but they also have really invasive root system. So if it is a silver maple, one of the downsides is it gets into the sewer lines. You get your sewer line plugged up a lot. Like every year, like almost, that's the silver maple. They
yeah,
tend to be really aggressive. In some municipalities like Amherst, you're not allowed to plant them anymore. It's retreat. Because they tend to
yeah,
plug up the lines, water lines, sewer lines, and then they also drop branches all the time.
yeah.
They're not really an ideal tree. They're just put in, a lot of developers put them in because they just grow really fast. I mean, they get big really quickly and, they're not really a premium tree, even though they get nice shade, they look nice but they're not like a sugar maple or
Yeah. This-
some of the hard maples.
Everything you said is exactly what's going on.
So you have had sewer issues?
Yep. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we clean it once a year, just as preventative. If we don't do it, it will clog up.
Well, we used to have to do it lots of times. We've had the house adapted so that someone can come through the front, do the cleaning from the front of our house, so they don't have to go into our basement. So we have invested in a lot of time and energy to keep our sewer line free and clear. And you can notice that when you look at the front of the front stairs, you can see there's a line there that the plumbers have put in just for exactly that purpose when we call.
Yeah, I had a huge silver maple in front of a apartment building that I owned in the city. And like clockwork, every year that line would plug up, and it was a huge silver maple. And I would back up, and then I had to go out and root it. That was quite, that added some expense.
Yeah, it's a yearly expense that we've had to budget in. And so this is where we're concerned about. We're getting to the point where, we're not gonna be as spry to go out there and keep patching up the sidewalk. We'd rather just have someone do a nice new sidewalk, put in a tree a few feet one direction or the other. That's a proper tree, preferably something like it'd really be nice. What is that tree we like that we have? Or we like the red buds, which have really pretty,
Those are nice.
yeah, we
yeah.
like,
Here, yeah.
we like the pretty color that we can look forward to. Since
No, I would agree with you, it sounds that tree is not a good thing for your whole sewer system or whatnot. But I think that brings up more of the question of why do we allow silver maples? If silver maples bring these issues.
Yeah, is anyone from the tree board? Thanks. Do you wanna weigh in on this, please? I know the tree board already had a decision on it. Well, you know what? Is there anything else you want to add?
Yeah, the only thing I want to say is that we do recognize that maybe a month ago, the sewer line was being worked on our street. And I did ask the people working directly right adjacent 20 feet from this silver maple. And they said they were augering out the roots, which they didn't anticipate would be so thick at that juncture.
Mhm.
So you could check into, that, and that kind of was what they were doing. They were putting some kind of a liner in the sewer pipes because of all these roots that are coming in. So,
Anyone else on the board have any other questions for the Gateys?
One quick question. Higher up in the tree, it looks like there might be like pipe plate sized abnormal growths or something? Is there any signs of existing disease? I know you said the piece that was taken out had rot in it. Is there still other health issues with the tree?
I don't know what that is. Maybe Dave could answer what that is. It's kind of like a big, it's true, it's a big growth that comes off the tree. And I'm not 100% familiar if that is just something, an anomaly of an old tree. I don't know. But we do, we have watched the tree. It does have a lot of lichen and, deterioration on the outside, but we've been told that that's fine for an old tree. But it really, doesn't look fine from our standpoint of view. It looks like it's falling, it's deteriorating. And then I sent along a photo of the tar spot, which I think I sent it to everyone on the board, where you can see there is big, black spots. And these leaves are all over, littered all over everyone's yards, because it's not really our tree we rake up what comes on our yard, but these leaves go everywhere. So it's in decline, and we've nursed it, and we've talked to the board about it. We've talked to Matt about it. He's come over, or I've sent pictures, and I've talked to Dave in the past. Like, this has been like 3 or 4 years, just trying to get informed and to find out what's the best thing to do. So we're here today, mostly because we're worried about liability,
Okay, thank you.
tripping from the roots and things falling. That the team is good about coming over and taking down trees when you say, or taking down branches and trimming when something falls and hurts or breaks something. But it's the roots we're worried about.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Mhm. Thank you.
Good evening. So I'm Dave Simeon, 121 King Street. I'm also on the tree board. And real quick, Paul, just to answer your question, in terms of planting silver maples or large species trees in what's called the tree lawn, we generally don't do that anymore unless there's ample room. During our spring plantings, what we do is we look for places in between the sidewalk and the home. And we'll still put big maples and oaks and things like that up, but we put them well away from the sidewalk. And, we usually try and talk to the owner to figure out where the sewer line is. We try and put it in a spot that won't cause any problems. So, but I mean.
That's good. That's wise, because right, if we keep planting little 20-foot miniature cherry trees or dwarf cherry trees, in 30 years, when some of us aren't here any longer, then the whole village is just gonna have all these little midget trees, and it'll just change the look and
It's
character
true.
of the whole community.
It's true. Yeah. So the tree board does consider that. We do like to try and maintain the large tree canopy and then mix in smaller trees as we go. So it's very true. So yeah, I was out to the Geese's home 2 summers ago, and we had a great talk, and I really like them. They're really nice people. And I was actually just speaking with Jesse Griffiths, the tree board president, as you guys were talking, and I was telling him, hey, this is what's going on right now. So he confirmed that so the DPW does have a consulting arborist. His name is Jared Weber from Bradley Tree, and apparently he did go out on in September of this year to look at their tree as well as another tree on Sycamore. His assessment was that structurally the tree's in good shape. He didn't see any immediate need to take it down. I'm sorry, but to monitor it because it is advanced stage. So it doesn't have a ton of life left, but he didn't get, to where he said, we should remove it. He also did look at one on the corner of Sycamore and Crescent, another big, massive maple. And he did say, hey, that one's probably got to go. So he is pretty partial. Now, they are true, though. The tree does take up their sidewalk and it heaves it. And, it's a problem for them. And, when I went and spoke to them, they said, well, can we get any relief? Can can we get a tax break or can DPW just come and do this? And I took that back to the board and long story short, the DPW doesn't do that. It's the homeowner's responsibility, mostly because there are a lot of examples of this in the village. And then if we did it for one, we have to do it for all. And then, it's a budgetary issue. So I feel for him. I think personally, it's a really pretty tree. It's huge. Doesn't have a lot of years left, but that was kind of the recommendation that the arborist gave. So
So if the homeowner's gonna replace the sidewalk panels, what's the best way to do it so that they're not doing it again? And I mean, I guess the last time it was done was 20 some years ago, it sounds like.
I think that you said you just did it right after I spoke to you, right? Okay. I mean,
Yeah, they just kind of, the sidewalks
Right.
like this and they just put something there to
and
kind of
that
bridge
can
it.
get you down the road a little bit, but generally you'd have to go down and cut out some root and, and that'll buy you more time.
Mhm.
And then it would probably hurt the tree, hopefully not kill the tree. But generally, I think if you paid someone to do it, that's what they would do.
Mhm.
In front of my house, I have a really big maple, way too big for the space. And it's not thankfully heaving the sidewalk. It's actually going kind of over the sidewalk. So I consider myself lucky, but a lot of times it doesn't do that. It'll start bringing it up.
Yeah, I had one that came up underneath and I had to bust it out. And
Yeah.
the root, of course, was growing straight down, so. But then I put in some aluminum kind of against it so that the root wouldn't continue to go that way and
Yeah.
it would change direction. Somebody
That's clever.
suggested that was a way to go.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, I feel for him. I really do. It's up to you guys. I don't think it's something that the tree board would passionately fight for, but it is a really big, gorgeous tree. So we like to try and save them when we can. But they are right. I mean, it's killing their sidewalk and if it's getting into their pipes, I don't know if they have old clay pipes, but it's a problem for them, I'm sure.
Well, it's got 4 strikes against it, creating a public nuisance by lifting the sidewalk. The silver maple, which is not a,
Oh, still a
I
really
know,
nice tree.
I'm not.
Silver maple's still a
I
pretty tree.
love trees and I love trees. I have but silver maples, I mean, when they're next to a wall, they're plugging the sewer line. And it's old and it's only got, you said about 10 years left.
I mean,
So, we're gonna deal with it in 10 years. So there's 4 strikes against it. I like trees and I love trees. I have no problem trying to save a tree that's not causing any problems, but I think this one's got, and if it's at the end of its life, that's just my opinion.
Well, now we have the arborist, Kathy, right, coming next meeting.
I did, sorry about that. As a result of all of this, I did just recently speak with the arborist and we talked about this specific situation and we talked about, and I sent you all the details. And we talked about the general situation in the village having to do with this. And I did confirm with him that he is available to come to your next meeting. So my thought about that was we can talk all day long about what the arborist says and knows and whatever, but if he's right here, it's probably a better situation for the board to speak with him directly and quiz him. This is his area of expertise and none of ours. So he is going to be at your meeting in 2 weeks. So I thought that would be helpful for the situation.
Good.
Yeah, I
So we
agree
got
with
a comprehensive analysis from the tree board, and then we can use that as ammo to talk to the arborist next meeting and see if he can answer some more of the questions we have.
So I have one more question. For the geezes, what tree would you want to replace that tree with?
well, yeah, by all means.
I just want everyone to know that, 10 years in our life, we might be gone by then. We're like 60 years old, so I'd like to see a red bud there, something that has
Yeah.
really pretty color, because we have a red bud on our on the back of our yard, and it's so
Yeah.
pretty. And it grows very large, and it has a lot of shade. It's a very pretty tree. That would
Okay.
be my choice. And
Oh.
10 years is a long, 10 years when you're at our age is gonna go,
Yeah.
we'll be gone and, or could be. I mean, so we would like
Okay.
a nice tree, not a tree that's
Yeah.
falling down over the next 10 years that we have to
Yeah.
constantly go outside and worry about neighbors being hurt.
Okay, cool.
From the tree board perspective, in that space, I think redbud would do really well.
How do you like red buds?
No, we like them. We've actually put a lot of redbuds in the last couple of years. We weren't going to offer it as a choice this year
Okay.
just because we put so many in, but they're very popular and we like them.
Yeah,
And it would be a good tree for that small of a space. So
cool. I like it. Thank you.
Great, thanks.
I think usually the tree board offers a choice of like half a dozen. And a lot of them are understory kind of trees, whether they're dogwoods or redbuds or whatever. So it does give a lot of
Got a lot
choice.
to cover today. So we'll have the arborist here at the next meeting on actually the 15th. I think.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, Mr. Shea, would you like to share?
On tree theme.
Patrick Shea, 486 Griggs Place. I'm here to answer questions regarding something that we mentioned back in July about planting a tree at the sinking ponds. I made a comment then about planting a tree as a memorial to a young man who had won our environmental science scholarship, but unfortunately was taken from us before he could use it. And we have plans on having the tree planted. I think we've got a theme going out on a limb here. I think we've got a theme going. So I'm not sure what I need to discuss or talk about.
So you brought this one up over the summer.
In
for
July.
Nathan, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and have you talked to Matt about it? Like
I
location?
mentioned it today that the Murray tree, we purchased the tree through Murray Brothers and had a site. I haven't marked it. I'll do that tomorrow. I've been tied up today of a site we wanted to put it in. And I believe I had mentioned it, that the family had requested it be near the beginning of the trail going up around the pond.
Is there gonna be any plaque or rock? Or
No,
anything?
no, nothing. It's a tulip tree. I talked with Jesse from the tree board. He gave it his rousing approval, even when I mentioned the site that we were thinking of putting it. I sent you a copy of my correspondence. I don't know whether you got it in time. Okay, okay. Any question?
No, Matt? Matt over there? Hey. Matt, you good with the location and everything? I know we're working on a policy for commemorative trees like in Hamlin Park.
And that was when I was talking to Kathy about that, and there'll be no plaque. So as far as anybody would know,
Yeah.
we in Rotary will know it's a commemorative
I think it's a good
planting
idea.
and,
Nathan
and
was-
the
Nathan was a-
family will
Nathan was
know
a
it.
great kid.
And so it's really kind of, it was his favorite place to hang out. It's what inspired him to get into environmental science. So the tulip tree was the tree that the parents planted. And according to Jesse, it's an appropriate planting
Mhm.
for the area too. So, and can I ask one question too? The tree, it's a commission, correct? Now, a board, as you know, can make the approval without this board's approval. A commission usually acts as an advisory board to the board, like the planning commission, the historic preservation commission. But usually a board signifies that they can make the approval without the elected board.
I think the thing is that, I know, and I know this is maybe a little bit of a different memorial tree because there won't be a
Right.
plaque and that type of a thing. But we did just have another request for something, and we don't, with the board, the tree board and the village board, we haven't had a policy. I actually
Right.
have already drafted a policy that is under internal review right now.
I guess what
So,
I'm trying to, is that a board has a different connotation than a commission.
Well, but I don't know how it came about that it was called the tree board and
Well,
not
I
a tree
don't-
commission or what have you,
Right,
but
it's
it-
only a point if you're
yeah.
writing up the procedure. My suggestion would be to clarify
Right.
what's the role of the commission or a board so that people would be clear.
Well, I think even if we call it a tree board, I think that there might still be review, a recommendation from the tree board to the village board, because all of these will be going in public places and on public property in some place,
Right.
tight times in Hamlin Park. And while the tree board would know all about the tree aspect of it, they might not know about those other aspects that would be coordinated along with the village board.
Yep, good idea. I like the idea of having, I'm a procedure kind of a guy.
At any
So,
rate, if the board's okay with it, with this exception, especially since it started in July and it's gonna go over on the DPW property, I'm all for being okay with this too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any issues? All right.
cool.
You good?
Okay, thank you.
All right, we're still in speakers and communications. If you have a topic you'd like to cover, please raise your hand, and when called on, come on up. Name and address, please, for the record.
Hi, my name is Dr. Andrea Peach. I live at 116 North Grove Street. This is my son, John Peach. We actually are here tonight to speak to the board about your recent decision to allow marijuana dispensaries and consumption lounges on our main street and in our lovely village community. I'd like to first take the time to actually thank you guys for being here tonight to listen to me. I know your job is not easy, and you carry the weight of over 6,000 souls that live here in the village, of which 20% of those are children under the age of 18. So I'm sure that you take that into consideration when you make your decisions for our village. I've had the pleasure of actually speaking with many of you over the past week, and with the support of other concerned neighbors, we started a petition and collected over 100 signatures this past week to petition the board to reconsider a temporary opt-out on dispensaries and lounges to buy us time to find out what's in the fine print of the rules and regulations before we opt in, because we all know when we opt in, it's forever and we can't change our minds. So the State Cannabis Board just formed their advisory committee 4 weeks ago, and we don't know what's in the final rules and regulations. Several other board members actually told me not to worry about our community because nothing would happen too fast. And actually in the Buffalo News recently, they actually said lawmakers said it would be 18 months before recreational marijuana is even legally available for sale in the state. 18 months. So I'm here to ask, what's the rush? I'm sure the board would agree that voting into something you don't know what the fine print is not a good idea. I'm sure that the board would agree that there's a benefit to knowing what's in the fine print before we opt in. I mean, wouldn't it even behoove us to have the finalized rules and regulations and give it to our village attorney so he can view it and then give us his opinion to know if this is the correct move and how to put better safeguards to protect our community before we do this. And this can't be about profits. I mean, 1 to 3% in profits. We all know that one major vehicular accident negates that meager profit. The increase in policing for music fest, et cetera, for our community. We don't even have a police officer that's trained to deal with this at this time. We don't even have a breathalyzer to determine intoxication levels. We haven't even talked about ventilation for lounges, because there is evidence and proof that you can actually get contact high from other people's secondhand smoke in areas that are not well ventilated. There are actually rules in place in the state of New York that deal with alcohol and bar establishments that are based upon communities greater than 20,000. How do we know that the fine print in these rules and regulations don't say the same thing in their fine print? We don't know what safeguards we have in place for our community. That's why wouldn't it make sense to wait and temporarily opt out until we know what we are voting for? And I know you've all done your research on this, and I'm sure that there are some things that even I found surprising that maybe you didn't know. For instance, one thing is that if a dispensary finds a location in our village that is within its legal boundaries, within 500 feet from a school or 200 from a church, if we opt in, that we cannot then deny them any available commercial location. We can't then change our mind and say, maybe we don't want it across from where a hockey stadium is. Maybe we should have had zoning in place for people who have private homes nearby. Maybe we should have certain zoning for them. And I also had board members who said, where were you 2 weeks ago? And perhaps we, the citizens, should have been following this a little bit closer. But I'll tell you, of the people that I spoke to, half of them didn't even know this even took place. And the other half of the residents thought that because the town opted out, erring on the side of caution, that we did the same. So I think that also is another reason for the board at this time to take the consideration for our village to bring this back up, that it would be beneficial for us as a community to revisit this because a lot of us didn't know that this happened or were misinformed. Now, we can all agree that we don't know what the fine print is. So what's the problem in temporarily opting out and waiting to see what's in it? Because cannabis is here, so we have the choice to go about it in a responsible manner to protect our citizens that live here in the village in a responsible way. And I'm sure you can all agree with the old saying that there's no error in being cautious, but haste makes waste. So I sincerely thank you for listening to me tonight. And I implore you as a board to please reconsider this and bring it back to the public so that we can bring this back up to a vote, because there's nothing wrong in temporarily opting out. That's why it's temporary. But once we're in, we're in. So we implore you to reconsider this. We know we're on a time crunch, but we know we can do this. So thank you.
Thank you. Who else would like to speak?
So I want to add something. So a couple of weeks ago, after we voted on this, my cousin approached me on Wednesday asking me if I wanted to open a dispensary with him. And I told him that I'm not opposed to that idea, but I would have to check and see how it would affect my services as a person with a disability. So I just want to let you know that I will be abstaining right now from anything, including setting a public hearing. I will abstain from everything.
Thank you for your honesty.
But I in a couple of weeks, if we do potentially vote on this again, I should have an answer from my care coordinators if this would even be a possibility.
Thank you.
Spendy?
Good evening. My name is Todd Mendig. I live at 209 King Street. Just for the record, my background, I have a PhD in metaphysics and ethics, medical ethics. I also have an RN and I'm a psych nurse. Dr. Peach and I have spoken extensively about this topic, and I'm in full agreement with her position. Though, where she would say she's disappointed, I would say I'm really angry. I don't know how to couch that in polite terms, so I'm going to do the best I can. And if I can't, I'll just stop. I'm not going to go back to an age where we watched movies like Reefer Madness and things like that, and say, oh, there's this great danger and all this. This is not a safe little drug. If you have the slightest propensity towards psychotic symptoms and you use this drug, they will come out. It's going to happen. People use it all the time. I'm quite certain that many people in this room have their little stash in their house. That's fine. Do what you want in your house. The concern that I have is not the dispensaries. It's not what people do with their free liberties and all that other things. It's when we have consumption locations in public. Somebody talked earlier about East Aurora Music Festival. That I think is a great example of what happens when you take an idea that's sort of libertarian in nature, like having no open container law, which I'm okay with us having. You walk around with a bottle and a glass of wine down the street, it's fine. You live here, it's your community, you'll be responsible in theory if you're an adult. When you bring Western New York into this village and unleash that, you get what you see when you go to that. And it's a sloppy mess. And that's what every major event is going to look like if you continue this. I didn't come to the earlier meetings. I knew about them because I thought to myself, very naively, that there's no way they're going to be the one community. What is it? Us in Orchard Park? The only people that are like, yeah, we should just go all in on this. This is an issue that has huge repercussions. No one is thinking ahead. Albany likes to throw things against the wall and see what will stick. They have made no details known. I mean, as Dr. Peach pointed out, 4 weeks ago, they got together to try to coordinate this all. We know nothing. And once you sign in, you can't sign out. It's a serious, serious problem. I have 11 children. I grew up here. We moved here in 1980. And barring a very short period of time where my wife and I lived outside of town, I've spent my entire life here. I've watched this town change in ways, some that are very good and some that are very disturbing. I beg you to reconsider this. But I promise you that if you don't, it will be my mission in life to make sure we have a different board as soon as possible. So this is ridiculousness. And I know that there are other people that share the same point of view. You heard from, what was it, 4 people and 15 emails? You're going to hear from a lot more people now that this has become a big public thing. There's a very big difference between what people do in their home by themselves and what people do in the community. I'm very concerned actually for the police department. How are they going to handle this when you have, what do they call it? Consumption lounge? A hash bar. So they go to this place, they drive there from anywhere in the area. They go in, they get high. Now what are they going to do? Well, they're going to drive somewhere else and potentially kill our children along with the rest of us. People need to think these things through. It's a serious problem. That's really all I have to say about it. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak? Sir in the front.
Evening, board. Steve at Hart's, 248 Walnut Street. And actually, I'm really directing this towards you, Matt. So there's something that's happened in East Aurora, and it's something new, but it's not there anymore. And on my ride down to Sinking Ponds, I saw finally the silo had been removed after all these years. So I had served on a capital expenditures committee, actually Alan Kasperzak, Dan Brunson, Deborah Hoagland, Randy West, Kristen, before you became trustee. And when we had worked on putting in the new salt barns, The old one was supposed to finally come out, and it took time, but you got it done. And thank you very much for doing so. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Mrs. Fisher.
Julie Fisher, 477 Fillmore Avenue. I'm here today to say that I was shocked and saddened by the recent vote to allow dispensaries and lounges to come to East Aurora. I am vehemently opposed to this change taking place in our community. I've been here for about 10 years now. We came here from Williamsville, which is obviously very busy. A community we desire to come to a small town with a small town charm and family friendly values. This is exactly opposite of that. And you can see I brought my children here today. And I don't think I have too much more to add than what these folks said, except that I am very upset and I just can't believe it went through with almost a unanimous vote. And I just wonder why you're not thinking about the families that live in East Aurora, the families that come here to pay a premium to live in East Aurora. In the 10 years I've been here, I've already seen many changes to the town. It's exploding. People are coming here from all over. We can barely keep up with the traffic, which a lot of times is a good thing for businesses, but it's definitely taking away from that small town family-friendly feel. Agree with what the gentleman said. Now you're asking more people from all over Western New York to come here for reasons that are, I don't know, less than desirable for sometimes, you know, in some respect. I cannot believe the vote that happened on this. And I feel sorry for the police and the fire departments to have to deal with this. Will they be allowed to hire more personnel to help with this? I just really urge you strongly to reconsider and vote to wait on this until we see all the fine print. And thank you for your time.
Who else? Sir in the back?
Good evening. My name is Jack Peach. I live at 116 North Grove Street here in the village. Thank you for your involvement in the village and being good stewards of the public interest. I grew up in a small town, just like East Aurora, with an active historic Main Street, nice neighbors, neighborhoods. That was in Florida. During my undergraduate studies, I met my wife, Andrea. We married, we moved to Chicago to pursue graduate degrees and work. We bought into and lived in the Logan Square neighborhood for 11 years in Chicago. We saw our fair share of rough city life and open drug use and what it can do. While in Chicago, Andrea built her career as a podiatrist, and I pursued an engineering career as a toy inventor. Once our kids, Louisa, John, and Charles, came around, we decided to make a move out of the city and back to small town American life. I had visited Fisher-Price on toy business a few times, and I knew it would be an amazing place to raise our kids. We jumped at the next opportunity and made the leap out here. While unloading our moving van at a rental across from the Roycroft campus, it was an amazing sight. It was strange. In fact, there were a couple of Boy Scout kids in uniform walking down the street and on the sidewalk. And later that day, we visited Hamlin Park, and there were many young families there. And I'm coming from Chicago. You don't see that kind of stuff. So it was really nice. So after the past 7 years since we've been here, we're still in love with the village of East Aurora. Some say it's an idyllic American small town, complete with nice neighbors and neighborhoods. I'm not sure if we would have moved here if there had been a dispensary or smoking lounge on the downtown streets. Haven't we tried to curb smoking for the past 30 years? And I'd like you to reconsider your decision and opt out for the marijuana dispensaries and lounges in the village. Thank you.
Dark coat, please.
Hello, and my name is Holly Wrestling. I live at 185 Green Street. And I'd like to thank you all for hearing me tonight. I've never done this before, but this situation came out and I really felt strongly that I needed to come out and speak tonight. I have a few points I'd like to share, and I would like to ask the board to do whatever it needs to do to allow more time to finalize the marijuana dispensary decision. I want to make sure you know that there are people who do want more discussion on this vote. I'm here tonight to request we wait until more voices are heard on the subject and all the information is gathered. Once we opt in, as many have said, we are in. And from my understanding, once we say yes, our family-oriented village can have a movie theater showing kids shows, a vape shop, and a pot dispensary all in a row on Main Street, right across from our Five and Dime. Once we're in that situation, we're in and we're not going to be able to get out. So my question to all of you who serve so diligently on our behalf is, who do we want to be as a community? When my husband and I moved here 20 years ago with our two little boys, we were looking for a safe, quiet village to raise our children. And now we have two grandchildren who live here. And we have watched over these 20 years, our village change. It's changed, it's grown, as people have said, it's become very busy with festivals and all these wonderful things. And there's good and there's bad with that comes with it. And I'm not sure that we want to add more to the negative impacts of substance use. I have personal stories in that area that I'm not going to share, but I can just say this: you do not want to add marijuana in dispensaries just out so people can purchase it and possibly sell it to underage kids. It's just not smart. So let's just consider before saying yes or no. Let's listen to the moms and the dads and the grandmas and the grandpas who might like to share our opinions. And by the way, you can get pot, which I'm not against, for adults in Orchard Park or online. And how can we say no to Walmart, but yes to pot stores? So let's just think about it. Let's talk about it. Let's try to listen to each other. I learned that I've done a little research online, and I learned that consumption at dispensaries will be limited to businesses that have an on-site consumption license, but social cannabis lounges in New York State are possible. And once we say yes, we're continuing to shape our village. Business owners will eventually be able to open consumption lounges in bakeries, restaurants, yoga studios, hotels, and wellness centers. So if we say yes, then all of these types of establishments in our village can have a smoking lounge in them. And I'd like you all to just think about what that would be like. Go have a donut and smoke some pot. I just don't see it being part of who we want to be. So all I'm asking is that we take the steps necessary to have more discussion and hear more opinions from the people who live here. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you all for your service. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you. I'm Rachel Francis. I live at 225 Sycamore Street. All four kids of my kids live in the village, and my two grandchildren live in the village. I'm a lot invested here. The decision by this board to welcome pot bars and dispensaries really took me by surprise. If I'd suspected it was a possibility, I'd have been here a lot sooner. While I recognize the need for some to access marijuana for medical reasons, I'm sure they will be able to do that online or perhaps in the city. It's East Aurora's reputation I'm worried about. With an image already for welcoming intoxication because of our absence of an open container law, this welcome to pot bars will make our image far worse. I Googled open container towns.
there were 5 mentioned, New Orleans being one, East Aurora, New York being another of the 5. This is our reputation. Your decision here will make that far worse. What is the message to our young ones? There is so much in our community to promote a natural high. Let's work on a message of wellness to our youth. I surely hope this is not just a rush for the tax profits. The fact that our police chief is against this tells you that enforcement of driving while intoxicated by pot will be costly and challenging. The pro-pot lobby has been very vocal and very insulting to anyone opposing them. But I feel I speak for a quiet majority who don't want to see East Aurora go down this questionable path. I am all for a wait and see posture, as most of the municipalities are doing. Please reconsider your stance. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Joe Blend, 118 Riley Street. And I wish to thank the board, the trustees, the mayor, for all the good things that you've done for this village. I agree with everything that has been said about marijuana in this village. It's a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. And I think if we took a vote in the village, it would be 10-1 against what you decided to do. 10-1, at least. Now, the first time, and again, I agree with the others that mentioned it, the first time I knew about this was when I read about it on the front page of the East Aurora Advertiser. Frankly, I was shocked. I could not believe that anything like this could happen in our beautiful village of East Aurora. And then you read on in that article, and all of the surrounding communities opted out. Why did we opt in? I'd like to survey all of you as to your thinking about why we ended up opting in. I'm not going to do that. You've got it on your conscience, and I pray that you reconsider what you have decided to do and listen to our wonderful police chief when he suggested that why would you do this? He asked you that before you went ahead and did it. My question is, why would you do this? Please reconsider and answer the prayers of the people in this village. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Eric Aben. I live at 461 Oakwood Avenue, just down the road. I thank you very much for your time today. I don't have a whole lot to say. I just got a piece of paper, but I have to say that I'm in total agreement with some of the very passionate things people have had to say. Some of the things, that really, if I really want to put my mind to it, I can't say no to it. It's all like to Todd and to certainly this mother of her children. I'm the father of 5 children. I have a 9-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 16-year-old at the high school. I've also have a 21-year-old, and a 23-year-old. And I have to say, I just have to humbly, I beg of you actually, to reconsider. Let's get back. Let's have a hearing about this once more. Again, as everybody said, I didn't really, in my wildest imagination, I had no idea that our village board would actually vote to opt in, especially with the consumption lodges. I mean, I hear about these things. It's like Amsterdam or something. You hear about this. And guys, I'm not a prude. I was born in the 60s, okay? Not a prude. But I understand what it can do to our village. I know the reputation our village has. I work in the city. Well, I'm working at home now, but I understand everybody would think, oh, you have the open container law, or you don't rather. And then
we'll have this too to add to it. So again, I really do beg of you, we don't know what's in the fine print. So today I went online and it's something like cannabis.newyork.gov. I kid you not, so obviously I know I live in New York State. So I went online and trying to find out a little bit about this, a little more. And in point on their website says, come back for some more information, come back at a later time. A later time, we've already voted to opt in over here in our village. We need more time. Did our attorney in the village, did he read the fine print? Do we know what the fine print is? I ask you, read the fine print. We don't know yet. I cannot believe we are not listening to our police chief. He is a professional. I mean, we kind of like, I'm not. He knows best. He understands there's no way to test for, I guess you say marijuana intoxication. He knows that, right? He understands, that's his job, is to advise all of us and all of us in the community, right? Right. So that's important. I can't believe you didn't listen to him. If anybody, he'd be the person. Because what people do for marijuana, they do it to get high, right? Maybe we have a beer, we do it because we like the taste, a good IPA now and again, So again, I ask you, please, let's be cautious about this. We can always opt in later on, opt out right now. So one of the things that I did do along with Dr. Peach was we took a petition around, and the kind gentleman before me was saying, indeed, if the vote was happening today and people had voted in or out, it would be about 10-1. So we went around last Sunday, and of all the people we talked to, first of all, the majority of folks were willing to sign. There were a couple of people who didn't sign. Okay, that's certainly their right to do that. But the more important thing that I even saw, at least when talking with people and discussing, is that hardly anybody knew about the hearing. And it was funny that people didn't even know that, wait, we opted in. I mean, people's look of shock on people's faces, even those who were, about the pro lobby. So again, I'm just going to finish up here and just say, please, again, I beg of you, I have children, I have a child in high school, please reconsider. Let's get back to a hearing. And if it's, let's get some people in here, let's get some intelligent minds in here like we have right now, and let's look to changes. So I ask you, thank you.
Grace Whitten.
Good evening. My name is Bob Worster. I live at 431 Girard Avenue. Thank you for listening to me tonight, and thank you for your support of and service to our wonderful community. I've lived here since '95 and certainly witnessed a lot of changes, but I just found out about the opting in to the lounges and dispensaries of marijuana and was shocked. But I think we need to look at it more than just from an economic point of view, as an economic opportunity. There are a lot of health issues involved as well. And, we've spoken about the law enforcement part of this, but from my personal experience, and it was mentioned before, that if a person has a propensity towards mental illness or a serious mental illness, that the use of marijuana will increase the severity of that disease. And I know that from personal experience of a family member. Our mental health care system is unable in its current state to keep up with the caseloads of people who need mental health care. And that is another thing to consider when allowing the use of marijuana. Maybe it's a small percentage, I don't know, but I'm sure physicians or scientists can answer that better. But that is really all I wanted to say, to consider the mental health workers and the mental health hospitals and things that go on to serve people who need that kind of help, as well as the law enforcement part of it. Thank you.
Mayor, trustees, Rod Simeon, 85 Byberry Court in the Village. I want to second everything that was said here, but want to come at it at a little different personal standpoint. I recently completed a 6-hour safe driving course with AAA, not alcoholics. It was the American Automobile Association. Make that clear. They devoted 30 minutes out of 6 hours to marijuana and what it does to drivers. It is a narcotic. It causes memory loss and significant loss of reaction time. So I say to you, Mr. Porter, Cameron, Mayor, Mr. Scheer, Mr. Rosati, don't have people come smoke marijuana and injure or kill some of our people, because it will be on you. Turn this down. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Susie Susie Jackson, 1257 Warren Drive. I, like so many people here, did not know that there was a hearing until I read about the outcome in the advertiser. And I was really left scratching my head for every single reason that everybody has so eloquently come up here and spoken. And I kind of had an additional thought too. Everybody up here has thanked everybody here for being on this board. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and we do appreciate that. I noticed we spent half an hour talking about a tree at the beginning of this meeting, and I was not at the meeting to know how much time was devoted to this law that you passed, or the passage of allowing consumption lounges. But my question is, I don't know how much time you spent. There wasn't any detail as to what this really entails, because the commission was just put together 4 weeks ago. They don't have any details. How can you vote yes for something without any details? And, to quote the newspaper article, one trustee was on the fence. One trustee was ambivalent. Like ambivalent. This is about bringing pot lounges into our village. And she's ambivalent. This is a person that I don't know if we elected her. I don't know if she went for it. I don't know. But we're not paying you to be ambivalent. If you are ambivalent about something as serious as allowing a pot lounge into our village, then you should go out and walk the streets and talk to your constituents and see what they have to say. If you are on the fence, then you need to talk to your constituents and see what they have to say. Because this is too important of a decision to be ambivalent about, to be on the fence about. This is not you smoking a joint in your house. Have at it. This is allowing businesses in our community where people can go and smoke and then enter out onto our streets. We have a police chief who says there's no way to really monitor this. Did you look up into what it kind of cost this would cost our village for lawsuits for something like this? I'm sure it would be way in excess of what the 1% or whatever it is in sales tax is that we could garnish from this. I was at a business meeting a couple nights ago. Somebody who doesn't even live in this community said, "What were you thinking? They don't even live here. They don't have to deal with this. And Holly, I think you had it wrong. They're not going to eat a donut and then go to the pot store. They're going to do the opposite. Just clarify that. So maybe businesses would, maybe the bakeries would want it because it's be good for business. However, not to be flip about it, but so here's my slogan. It's Toy Town, not Joint Town.
Anybody else? Mr. Cox?
Good evening, board, everyone who's attended. Thank you for your time and service. I've been on boards myself. It's time consuming. My name is Richard Cox. I live in 288 Perry Street. I've been in East Aurora for approximately 10 years. My wife was born and raised here. When we learned of the dispensary decision, it did catch us kind of by surprise. I'm very busy in my profession. I don't want to take any more of everybody's time here. I think it would be very important for the board to reconsider the decision they made. Being on boards, I understand they're tough decisions. You're impacting a community here, which in my humble opinion is going to be one of few communities in Western New York, possibly even New York State, where we can actually refer to it as, our lovely little town of East Aurora. This is not a commentary so much on whether or not I am pro-cannabis or anti-cannabis. It's about the idea of bringing that entity into our community, which I think the negative ripple effect from that is potentially much worse than any positives that'll come out of it. I would respectfully also ask the board to reconsider their vote. I think if you do a real deep polling of the neighborhoods, I'd be welcome to be part of that, so we can get a better feel for what the community wants to do about this topic. I think that would be wise. It's a large decision and it should not be taken care of lightly. Again, I very much respect your time and your consideration. Thank you.
Amy Albrecht, 425 Prospect Ave. And I don't have much more to add. I just want to say that I also ask you to reconsider. This was my hometown, has been since I was born, moved away for college and lived in many other cities, Portland, Oregon, Boston, Massachusetts, returned here a year ago. As many other people have said, have noticed the changes, good and bad, but can still say this is an absolutely beautiful and wonderful community to live in. Taught me what it is to be community. And I haven't seen that in many other places that I've been, but I've always been searching for it. So to come back here and to live in it again, and then hear that a decision like this has been made without a whole lot of input, and the fact that it was said that not many people showed up last time, simply want to come up and make my voice known, that I'd ask you to reconsider.
Anyone else to speak on this or any other matter?
Hey, guys. Dave Simeon, 121 King Street. So first off, I'd like to say, I also grew up here and I only see positive changes since the time I was, a little kid up until now. I think this village is a lot more vibrant, a lot more things to do for kids and adults. And I think that I'd like to thank you guys for having a small part in that. And I also like to thank Police Chief Krieger for keeping the streets safe. I've never once felt unsafe on these streets. And I think that the police do a great job. And so the next part, I think I kind of want to state the obvious here. Marijuana has been legalized by the will of the people. nothing anyone in this, there's nothing anyone can do in this room to change that. Marijuana is going to be in the village anywhere it's legally allowed. So I think a lot of the statements against it, really speak to us saying we really should just not have it at all in the village. And that's just not going to happen. So, that said, if people have more obligations against it, I think that's fine. It's everyone's right. But to stand in the way of commerce, I think that that's not the right decision. Because, as I stated in the last meeting, taxes are pretty prohibitive. It's pretty expensive to live here. And, we're overlooking a revenue stream that is significant. We're not talking about a pizza shop or a candy shop. We're talking about people coming in, spending hundreds of dollars. And that's all going to trickle down to our budget. And I think that's really positive. Last thing I will say, I was a little surprised that you voted in favor of consumption sites. I think that they're two very different animals. A dispensary is one thing, just a consumption site is a little different. But anyway, that's my piece, and thank you guys.
Carlos Santos, 182 Oakwood Avenue. I spoke last week or 2 weeks ago when the board voted. I spoke when the town voted on it also. I emailed the board earlier today. I didn't think I was going to have to until I saw the article in the paper last week, the editorial. I got to say, hearing all the issues people have, I haven't really heard one fact-based or statistic-based issue. They keep saying, oh, our community. This is reefer madness propaganda. What's the negativity with a dispensary? Do they think crime's going to go up? Because the numbers show crime goes down. Underage use does not go up. Property values go up in towns where dispensaries are. The negative idea of, a dispensary is going to ruin the quaint little feel of this town. How? Why? They're not giving any reasons. They're just saying it's a negative thing without providing any statistic. I have pages and pages of statistics, the numbers that point out the benefits that a dispensary in a town does. Opioid related deaths go down. It's there. And like that was just said, the law is the law. Whether people have moral obligations, the law is the law. Right now, we can have up to 5 pounds in our house. 5 pounds. That if there's no retail dispensary, there will be black market in the town. It's popped up in California, other states where municipalities have opted out, and then a black market rises up because people are still going to purchase the product. And I have a hard time reconciling these fears about, I have children. Those do not go up. It's hard to argue against people who don't bring up facts, and I'm having a hard time kind of dealing with that. And it's difficult when they say that the fine print, we don't know what's going to happen. That's so not true. There's a 128 piece of legislation, the MRTA, that goes into great detail about how this is all going to work. The only thing the board needs to finalize is the licensing procedures. Everything else has been laid out. Chapter 4 specifically talks about adult use, and it regulates every step in the process from growing to selling. So what fine print is going to pop up? I'm confused because everything's been laid out. The licensing application procedures need to be put in place, but beyond that, it's all out there. So I recommend that the board, if you have time, read it. Everyone in this room should read it because it goes into full detail about how this is all going to work. So just I thank you for voting not to opt out, because you have to act on that. The state legalized it, and it requires us to act to opt out. So I thank you for doing that last week, and I hope that if we do have a hearing, that it's based on facts, statistics, and not just fear mongering. So thank you.
Anyone else?
Hello, my name is Caitlin Fitzgibbon. I also live at 182 Oakwood Avenue. I was also here 2 weeks ago when the board opted or chose not to opt out. And I was actually also here when the town did opt out. So I heard two discussions on this issue. And 2 weeks ago, when this board had a very thoughtful discussion regarding the pros and cons of having a dispensary in this village, you spoke about other states that have successfully implemented these businesses into their communities and how this has not only not destroyed reputations of these communities, but that this has enhanced those places and made them desirable tourist locations. What I'm hearing here tonight is alarming and frankly upsetting. I'm hearing reefer madness messages couched as, let's wait and see what the fine print says. It doesn't sound to me like anyone here wants dispensaries, no matter what the fine print says. They're all saying that pot is going to destroy the community and corrupt our children. Once again, reefer madness messages that were spread decades ago and that we now know were based in racist propaganda. The discussion I heard the board having last week was a progressive, enlightened, and hopeful attitude that choosing not to opt out would lead to improving the future of this village. In my opinion, the reality of day-to-day life will not really change here if we don't opt out. People are already smoking weed. The police should already be trained in detecting marijuana. It was illegal for quite a while. As far as where the dispensaries go, the village can control this, which was discussed last week. If a new bar was opening in the village, we wouldn't have this kind of showing against it. And alcohol is exponentially more dangerous than marijuana, statistics show. I am new in East Aurora. I just moved here from New York City, and I couldn't agree more wholeheartedly with all the sentiments that have been shared here tonight about what a unique, amazing, beautiful, idyllic town this is. And when I heard your discussion last week or 2 weeks ago, I was so proud and excited that the community I had chosen to move to was so progressive and open-minded, like the city that I had moved from. It showed me small town does not have to mean small mind. I ask that you please stick to the forward-thinking attitude you displayed last week. Please put out the message to other communities that East Aurora is moving towards the future and learning from the past, not living in it. Thank you.
You know, we don't do rebuttals during the public session. Just unique speakers only. In the back, please.
Hello, I'm Catherine Vijay, 331 North Street. I'm gonna get very shaky because public speaking is not my thing. I spoke at both the public hearings. It shocks me to know that so many people in this room didn't know there were public hearings. They were printed in the same newspaper that had both of the articles that were written, clearly stating when and where they were. And some of us showed up to actually address this during the public hearings. I want to thank the village board for the beautiful discussion that did happen 2 weeks ago. It was very well thought. It was very well educated. It is available for everyone in this room to watch on YouTube. And I just hope you guys continue with the facts and listening to what's actually in front of you instead of the fear and emotions from people that you're hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. It's going to close our first speakers and communications. We've had a spirited and lively input from the public. Does anybody want to? We don't have anything under official considerations. Is anyone interested in moving to schedule a public hearing for 2 weeks from now or move on to our current agenda?
I think a public hearing is in order.
For which?
For both.
So them separately?
Separate motion. But I think, I still feel the way I felt last week. But as I've said many times up here, I don't represent myself or what I like or what I want. I have to represent the people of the community, despite my own personal feelings that I don't really think it's going to be, a dangerous situation for us to have a dispensary in town. But that's my personal opinion, as a representative of people, doesn't really count for much, because ultimately I represent what the community wants, not what I want. I have to listen to the people because these are the people who elected us. And I don't think it would hurt to think about it again. I don't think it hurts to have, some more time to think about it. And to hear from others and hear both sides. I think time is not a bad thing. To have more time to discuss and think. And I'd like to get out and knock on doors and talk to people and find out, what exactly, how do they feel? I don't want to put something in my community that I grew up in. I've lived here most of my life. Have represented for, 14 years, 15 years, I don't remember anymore. I don't want to put something in my community that the vast majority of the residents don't want.
Thank you.
But I think also I need to make sure that I'm making the right decision. And as people have said, I think this is a big decision. I think when I didn't hear from people, when I didn't hear any pushback or I wasn't getting any emails or phone calls of people knocking on the door, I assumed the public's okay with it. Maybe this isn't such a, this isn't a big deal, but I'm hearing from the public, and maybe I need to go out and knock on some doors and talk to others as well.
It's a big deal.
So that's only me. I don't know how others feel on the board. Should we take more time?
I like the idea of having a little more discussion. One thing that I think might be missing in some of the discussion would be potential zoning changes. So that if, for instance, you're worried about secondhand smoke and you want to have a better exhaust system, the good news is the state zoning has a model for that for distilleries. It would be fairly easy to say, here's a proposal. Let's add this to the zoning. We can do that now, whether we opt in or opt out, and that would help address some of the particular issues. So having specific suggestions, maybe about when things should end at night, if you're worried about places being open too late, that's an opportunity. If you're worried about Music Fest and people running around at 1 o'clock in the morning, we could talk about zoning for curfews. I haven't heard a lot of suggestions on how we might be able to improve things beyond just saying we don't want anything at all. As one of the speakers talked about, Carlos talked about, there is a fair amount of detail in the law that was passed in March, the 128 pages. I think we can learn from that and try and figure out if there's things that are specific to our environment that maybe we want to try to address. But the reality is it's not going to go away. Shane's police force is going to have to learn how to deal with it. He's already said he's going to have additional training. I think everybody on the board supports that. Nobody's saying it's a bad idea. We just got to figure out how to work within the laws that have been passed by the state. So I'm in favor of having some more public discussion.
Sure, yeah, if there's more public input, we can have more discussion. I'm totally on board with that. I think we may want to this is a little bit sidebar, but I think it might be a good idea to have a conversation also, since so many people were unaware that this was happening in the first place. Kind of what more can we do as a board to get messages out about what we're dealing with, kind of what we're voting on. I'm not sure what more we can do, but if people have ideas of ways that we can get more information out, then please let us know.
I'd have to agree with that. This isn't the only subject that we've heard this, I don't want to say pushback of, I didn't know. We're here all the time trying to move forward with plans and different things that come across our desks. And how do we do that? I'd love suggestions on how we communicate better with the community to enlighten them as to what we're doing. So it's a timely thing for everyone, as opposed to, look what you did. Now we got to correct it. And I also feel that moving forward, further discussion could help clarify some things that, like Tony pointed out, moving forward and communicating with the public, whether it's the roads we build. It's never a problem until it's in front of someone's home or business. And then all of a sudden it's like, I didn't even know. So, and we sometimes knock ourselves out for years with something and then we still get that same comment. So, and I also have family, children. I'm a lifelong resident. I left for a few years after college and have grandchildren and children in this community. So it concerns me, and that's one reason why I'm here, is to keep East Aurora that idyllic place that everybody talks
Someone needs to make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we hold a public hearing regarding the cannabis dispensaries to be located in the village. Is that okay?
Right, I'll second.
Okay, moved by Ernie, second by Kristen. Further discussion. This is for
Dispensary.
dispensaries.
Yeah.
And this is have a public hearing for a local law proposed for the village to opt out of having retail dispensaries selling cannabis within the village limit.
Yeah, and we have a public hearing.
Okay, and the date, we're looking at
They would be
11/15? 2 weeks?
2 weeks. Is 2 weeks enough time? Okay, 2 weeks.
Okay, for 11/15. All right, any other discussion?
Chris, now I can vote for this discussion.
All you're voting on right now is whether or not you're going to have a public hearing. You're not voting on the actual opinion or opinion.
So am I able to vote on that?
Another question.
Okay.
Legally, that you don't have to recuse yourself.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is set, and Maureen and Kathy will do the proper notification. All right,
Yeah, on the lounge. Okay, so I'd like to make a motion that we hold a public hearing regarding the lounges, cannabis lounges within the village of East Aurora.
let me read it from last time. Local law proposed for the village to opt out of having consumption sites for cannabis within the village limit.
Correct.
For
And
November
that hearing to
15th.
be held in 2 weeks.
Moved by Ernie, second.
Second.
Second by Tony. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, public hearing is set. Thanks, everybody. Thanks to everybody on both sides who came out to share their opinions. It is sometimes we sit here and it's just one member of the media in the audience. And so it's really nice to have all this feedback and have people care about their own community and what direction it's going, and being willing to take their time away from their families and whatever they're doing to come out and voice their concerns on both sides of it. So thank you for coming.
Can I just applaud the kids for sitting through this so nicely?
Yeah.
Because generally adults can't handle this, so very nice job.
Julie, your kids too, they hung in there for quite a while.
The teacher in me wants to say you guys are all great public speakers. You did a very nice job. You get an A, in public speaking.
All right, any other speakers and communication topics? All right, we're moving on to public hearings. Can I get a motion to open a public hearing for the local law amending the village code pertaining to minimum lot width as it relates to quote flag lots at 8:34 p.m. Moved by Paul, second.
Second.
Second by Kristen. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. The public hearing is open. So first of all, Kathy, do you just want to give a high level thing and then we'll let the public weigh in on it? Please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So this had come up before the board that our current code does allow what's commonly referred to as flag lots. That would be actually we allow access as narrow, I should say, as 15 feet at the road. And then literally would be a flagpole going back to a large lot behind a house that might already have the normal amount of road frontage. And these are just generally from a planning perspective, not considered a desirable way to have a lot of these in your community. So the board, actually, we are currently in a moratorium for having any flag lots even being proposed or developed. So during the moratorium, the board wanted us to come up with some language to eliminate this from our code, so we wouldn't have it anymore in any event. So you have the proposed language that does, it first of all, it defines what a flag lot is. It's just very descriptive. It looks like a pole and a flag. And that the right now, the 15 feet in our code is stricken, if you look at what the proposal is. And then it says what you need to have as far as frontage on the road, and then again, describing the flag lots.
Thank you. Anyone from the public like to speak on this matter? Sir.
Terrence Cope from 363 Prospect. I've come before this board numerous times, and I do thank you for your service like everyone else tonight, and I know I've been on boards too, and I know how much time it takes. I know this has come up, and I know the reason why this flag lot thing has come up, and it's because of me. And it seems ironic that we could push a flag lot moratorium through so quickly, which it is what it is. The town code reads that you can have them. But I could not get in front of your board in the same manner. And it just seems funny how that all turned out, but it is what it is. I personally am not always in favor of flag lots, but there is a place for it, a time and a place. And I think what you have now with going in front of the board and speaking your grievance to see if it would work, there are places that it works. There are also places that it won't work. So that is my, so to speak, grievance with the board. And that's now that I've spoke my piece. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak on this issue? Can I get a motion to close the public hearing at 8:37 PM?
So moved.
Moved by Tony, second.
Second.
Second by Kristen. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is closed. Moving on to 4A, can I get a motion to appoint Paul O'Brien to the position of detective?
So moved.
Moved by Kristen, second. Steve? Further discussion? Shane, he's been serving in an interim role as
Yeah, for about a
detective?
year and a half. We're just waiting on the civil service test to be held, and we just got the results back. We have 3 members of our department on it. He had the highest score of 93, so.
Fantastic.
He's ready to be made permanent.
Great. Paul's a great guy. All right, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Tell Paul we said congratulations, please.
I will pass that on. Thank you.
Can I get a motion to approve a negative declaration under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, seeker of an unlisted action for local law amending the village code pertaining to minimum lot width and as it relates to flag lots?
So moved.
Moved by Kristen, second.
Second.
Second by Ernie. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. 4C, can I get a motion for adoption of local law amending the village code pertaining to minimum lot width as it relates to flag lot? Moved by Paul, second.
Second.
Second by Ernie. Further discussion?
I understand that the 15 feet seems very narrow. Are we, I didn't see the language that said what we are allowing. Is there a minimum size?
Without a very 90% of what we would be allowed in a particular zone, because you have different zones, different frontage. You can't fit them there.
Liz, you wanna weigh in on that? That?
Yeah.
That right there.
If somebody has an existing substandard lot, they can apply for a variance if necessary.
That's a good
There
point.
are provisions within the code for lots that are existing that have less than the required frontage in that zoning district.
So it'll still be possible, they'll just have to go through the ZBA.
Right.
Versus it being automatically allowed in the code.
And that's what. So if you're on a cul-de-sac and you're in that
In the town of. Elmwood.
trapezoid kind of shape, then you still got options.
Right, most of those lots are already created, approved. But not all developed yet.
Thank you.
All right, roll call vote. Starting with Paul. On the flag lots?
So I know exactly what I'm.
Okay. Did sure. Still in further discussion. What do you got, Paul?
Yeah, Liz, can you go over this a little more? I feel like I don't have a good grasp of the concept.
So the concept that exists currently in the code,
Yeah,
so that allows for a lot that only has 15 feet of access to a place that opens up further behind. And there is the one section in the code that does allow for that to happen, which means that you have a house behind a house. And we have some of those lots within the village already. Some of them are built and some of them are not. One of them is on Oakwood Avenue. We talked about that with alpacas. There's one on North Grove. There's one out on Nye Hill, a couple actually there. So we have these lots within the village, but they are few and far between. And so this is a type of development that you don't often see in a village. You frequently see it in a town where there are larger lot sizes. But this is the code change, eliminating 15 feet and requiring a legal lot size to build.
so if we allow this, there's no variance? Or will there still be the opportunity for a variance?
So for existing lots that don't have the required amount of frontage, which is 70 feet for a new lot in the village, but we have a couple down on King Street that you will see over the next year. They have less than the 70 feet, but they're existing lots of record. And they have to go through a process of approval to build, but they have direct road frontage. So there are provisions within the code that allow lots that are undersized to be developed.
So the property on what Prospect that we're talking about, one would have 70 feet. The other one would have 65 feet. So, and then if this were to pass, would they even be able to develop that 65 foot?
Yes, so if you eliminate the 15-foot allowance, they can develop the lot, as you said, a 70-foot lot and a 65-foot lot. That 65-foot lot received a zoning variance. So it's a legal buildable lot now.
So, okay, then, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I feel like I can vote on this now. Yes.
Okay, so we're doing a roll call vote, starting with Paul. And you are a? Okay. Kristen?
Aye.
All right, Ernie?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
And Steve? And I'm an aye. The local law passes. 4D, can I get a motion for the resolution designating polling locations and hours for the village election.
So moved.
Moved by Tony, second.
Second.
Second by Kristen. Further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Can I get a motion to refer to the planning commission for the November 9th planning commission meeting, the proposed subdivision for 363 Prospect.
So moved.
Moved by Kristen, second.
Second.
Second by Ernie. Further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
How many ayes did I just get? I have at least 4.
Aye.
Approved. Oh, opposed? Approved. Can I get a motion to refer to the planning commission for December 7th, a site plan application for 636 East Fillmore, the Blue Eyed Baker? Steve, second.
Second.
Tony, further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Can I get a motion to refer to the planning commission for December 7th, a special use permit for 636 East Fillmore, the Blue Eyed Baker?
So moved.
Moved by Kristen, second by Tony. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Can I get a motion to approve the temporary use permit for the Greater East Aurora Chamber of Commerce for Saturday, December 18th, 2021, at 7 to 8 p.m. for the Carolcade. Moved by Paul, second.
Second.
Second by Steve. Further discussion? I love the Carolcade. The weather's such a good time. Good, we're almost there. They're gonna start playing it on the radio pretty soon.
They already did.
Oh, have they really? I don't know. We've been working in the DPW barn, getting the Main Street decorations ready, the wreaths and the bows and all the lights. Got a whole group of volunteers with the holiday decoration committee who've been coming down there like almost every day working in that garage. So thanks to all of them. And I'll thank them proper once we're all done and everybody approves of the work they do, but it really is great what they're doing. So looking forward to Christmas. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carolcade's approved. I get a motion for permission for the mayor to sign an agreement participating in the Erie County Fire Mutual Aid Plan.
So moved.
Moved by Kristen, second. Second by Paul. Further discussion.
Just a quick question. I'm assuming that this is fairly similar to all the ones we've done in the past, right? Is there any major changes?
Any major changes? Sounds good. We just do it every year, right? Nothing in there about 3 new fire trucks or anything for them? A hot tub at the fire hall.
Mutual aid is a great thing.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Can I get a motion for permission for the mayor to sign a settlement and release agreement with NICEAG regarding past gross receipts? Moved by Paul, second.
Second.
Second by Tony. Further discussion? Maureen, you want to just tell us what that is?
Basically, we get grocery receipts, checks in our office almost every day. They can be a penny, they can be thousands of dollars. We don't get the data to tell us if it's correct or not. So we have to do audits every once in a while. An audit was started before I even got here. They've been working through it. There's attorneys and everything involved with negotiating it out. We deal with Computel, like is our main guy, and they win them slowly by each vendor. So this one here is my side, there's multiple municipalities in it. We're gonna be getting about 9,000 back. Of the 9,000, 3,000 is gonna go pay Comtel for their services. We'll end up with about 6,000 back.
Nice. All right. That's good news. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. All right, no new business. Speakers and communications, part deux. Anybody want to speak on anything that hasn't spoken or has spoken and wants to talk about something? Mark, nothing?
Nothing, Mayor.
Okay.
First of all, my apologies for my phone going off a couple of times. I'm on call for things.
You're fine.
Secondly, I think
in my discussion, I didn't actually get to say thank you, and I was remiss for that. And just want to say thank you and glad that I came out to see this as a lifelong resident. I've never been a part of one of these, and it really matters what you guys are doing. So thank you.
Good. Glad you came out. You're welcome anytime.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the department head report. Shane, what have you got for us?
A couple of things is, one is, along with the detective's results from the civil service test, we also got the lieutenant's results. We have 3 members of our department on that list, so I'm hoping to fill our 4th vacancy, 10th vacancy in the next couple weeks. We're still are down 2 officers from our budgeted amount of 17. We just interviewed 4 more candidates the other day and are hoping to hire 1 fairly quickly and then second probably in the police academy in January. I'll bring that to you probably the beginning of December, if not sooner. To November, so the police officers are gonna start looking a little scruffier. No save November and December has begun. The officers are raising money to donate to the Aurora Adult Day Services. If anybody cares to assist them in donating, you can go to the Aurora Police Quaker Club's Facebook page. That's the union's Facebook page, and there's a way to help the officers donate money. Each officer has to donate $100 of their own, and then are encouraged to bring in more donations for the sponsor of the year for the event. And I would just like to remind everybody, all my parking's coming soon. Hopefully the snow isn't, but parking ban is coming.
Very good. Thank you, Shane. Matt?
Right in the middle of leaf collection, and hopefully we'll get that wrapped up before it snows.
All right, thank you, Matt. Thank you for the work you did on the curb on Maple and was it Parkdale? Yeah. I think that's nice. It gets that ramp. It's a county road, Maple is. Been trying to get pulling cars to and his crew to repave it. They said they're working on it. They think they're gonna engineer it next year and repave it the year after that, because Maple's gonna be a big project, full redo. But meanwhile, that handicap ramp was often submerged. I talked to the neighbors that actually went out and bought a squeegee, and they would squeegee the water away so it didn't ice up and freeze and cause a treacherous situation. So Matt and the DPW went and raised the curb up and redid the whole thing with concrete and feathered it in so that it's how much higher is it than it was? And hopefully that's enough to get the water to shed out of the way. So there's handicap access there. Liz?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Kathy?
So we're still doing the very final items on the whole culvert and parking lot project. We were touting that we didn't have any change orders, and of course, compared to our last project where we had so many change orders, it was a little crazy, but you will be asked to do one change order at your next meeting that closes out the contract amount that we were under the contract amount for the project in the amount of $239.96. So that is the change order that you'll be asked to approve at your next meeting that we just received from our engineer. There is one outstanding item that the contractor needs to address as far as ponding in an area, and that is going to be done. Our engineer will ensure that that is taken care of. And then the other very last thing that we're waiting on is getting the new light in the lot so that there's plenty of light in the back where all the new parking is, and have been working with Matt and Sue Westfall of NICEAG and our engineer Dave Britton on exactly, and I should say Clark Crook, who has been one of our fabulous property owners over there, going on his property where it's gonna go. Actually, we were gonna have 2 lights going each direction on the side to side, but we've decided it's got better to have one coming out into the parking lot. So that should be plenty of light, and it is also specified in the new paperwork, as it has been all along, that we don't want any light to spill back over into the apartment. So, and I believe they are still waiting on, they don't have the fence up over there, right? They're still waiting on fence materials, right? Right. So they're just, that is a supply chain issue that they just haven't been able to get that. I know they would like to get that and get it up as soon as possible. So those are just the very last things that are going on with that project, and then it will be all closed out in a very successful way. That's it.
And special props, I don't know if you mentioned Al Ott in there, but Al Ott and Reed's Liquors.
Mr. Ott and Mr. Duzel, who own their property. Yes, please, thank you so much for giving him kudos. He absolutely, what do we give him, a shout out? Do we say, is that what we say nowadays? He was fabulous.
That's what us kids say.
Yes, and thanks a lot for that. And there are a lot of other, all the business owners in there, and that the barbershop and Mr. Banto who owns the salon really did work with a lot of really great business owners and property owners over there. Do appreciate all of their cooperation.
Allowing the construction and vehicle access.
That was
That's their place.
a very, very key item, and we very much appreciate Mr. Ott and Mr. Duzel for that. Thank you, Mayor.
Maureen.
Today was the last day of the taxes, so anybody who did not get a tax by today, they will be re-levied to the county. I will have the fund balance policy, that's also for the next agenda. I'll get it out to you before Nancy, that you can review it, and we looked at it once before at a board meeting. So it's just the same thing over again, but I will get it out to you. And then I plan to have some budget modifications.
Thank you. Trustee Lizickis.
I'm good.
Trustee Rosati.
Just a quick comment. I continue to hear on occasion, a couple times a week maybe, about people saying it would be helpful to have more trash cans on the north side of Main Street between Rite Aid and middle school. And they talk about things like there seems to be many more on the south side than there is on the north side. I know the Rotary was talking about maybe trying to build some more, but to the extent that we're still enjoying the fact that people like to walk, I think it's good to have trash receptacles readily available. I understand it could at some point potentially complicate snow removal eventually, but this idea of saying a few more trash receptacles would be helpful seems like a recurring theme.
Matt, what do you think? Can you get another 1 or 2 out between Rite Aid and the middle school? I think that where good spots would be, what, like the corner of Shear? Like that area? Now, what do you think, Matt?
Yeah, we could scout it out and put a couple more there.
I think part of the problem too is the fact that when Dunkin' Donuts closed, they had a private one, and the new occupant isn't putting one out there, I don't think.
I would think down there would probably make more sense, because that's where people have trash, coming out of the drugstore and walking out of.
Oh, the restaurant.
Mister's
down
and
there,
stuff,
I think, somewhere in the neighborhood of the old Dunkin' Donuts, probably makes the most sense.
You got one in front of Rite Aid now, right? And we don't have one in front of Dunkin' anymore? Maybe one in front of Dunkin' and another one farther down. Yeah, like near Shear. Up farther east.
East works.
Farther east.
I'm done.
Thank you, man. Thanks, Tom. Trustee Shear.
Oh, that's it, okay.
Trustee Cameron.
All set, thanks.
Trustee Porter. All right. Again, I just want to thank the holiday decoration volunteers. Actually, Sandy Romer and Kim Nava have recruited friends and neighbors to come out because we're a little light this year. We got a few high school kids came out and volunteered. Actually, a couple 8th grade boys came out, and it was good. They spent the afternoon working on the holiday decorations, which was very helpful. So we appreciate any help we can get. If anybody's interested, please reach out to me at the mayor email address, and and we'll schedule you in to put in some elbow grease. I was at the VFW Legion event last Saturday night, and it was great. It was I called it like the Night of Legends. It was a fundraiser for for the Legion and the Kiwanis. It was a neat event. It was put on by Jim Bach and Chuck Snyder, and it was a nice event overall. So just a reminder, COVID's still a thing. Get vaccinated, get your booster. It's super easy. You just call the pharmacy, they just let you have it. You don't need to prove anything. They're super easy about it. And continue to be careful and safe. With that, can I get a motion to adjourn? Moved by Steve, second by Paul for the discussion.